The palace may have stayed silent, but now even Meghan's own family is tearing the entire story apart piece by piece, and the deeper people look, the stranger everything starts to feel. That's the explosive storm now surrounding Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, as critics, commentators, and even family members begin questioning everything from royal titles to public appearances, carefully staged interviews, mysterious voice clips, and what some are calling one of the most calculated image management campaigns the royal world has ever seen. Right from the beginning, people sensed something was shifting. What looked like a harmless interview suddenly exploded into a massive controversy after viewers noticed a tiny detail sitting quietly inside a gift basket. Not a speech, not a dramatic statement, just a title, a royal title. And that single detail lit up social media like a match thrown into gasoline. Critics instantly connected it to the Sandringham Summit Agreement, the deal personally approved by Harry and the late Queen Elizabeth II after the Sussexes stepped away from royal duties. Suddenly, people weren't just discussing Meghan anymore. They were questioning whether the agreement itself was being ignored in plain sight.
I don't believe that that's her voice, on the grounds that every photograph we've seen of the alleged children, their hair color changes, their height and body type changes, their face changes. So this is just, some random voice. All we saw was some little hand that seemed so small, it didn't seem like it belonged to a 3-year-old. So much was inconsistent about this that, I just think it's a kind of a turnoff. I'm not buying it.
It's official. The Australia tour was all about selling, and yes, I did say the word selling. Merching is not strong enough. The children. So-called Prince Archie, so-called Princess Lily. Now the Sussexes are openly defying Queen Elizabeth II by selling products named and based on these minors.
The reaction became immediate and vicious. Online commentators replayed the footage repeatedly, zooming into screenshots, analyzing placement, timing, and presentation like investigators studying hidden evidence. Supporters tried calming the chaos by insisting it was just a friendly gesture between friends, but critics weren't buying it, not even close, because according to them, nothing involving Meghan is ever accidental anymore, especially not during polished public interviews with close celebrity allies. People began asking the same dangerous question again and again. Was this entire moment carefully planted to send a message? Then came the deeper layer, the emotional storytelling. Meghan was presented as caring, thoughtful, compassionate, surprising friends with ice cream baskets and homemade strawberry sauce during stressful moments. On the surface, it looked warm and harmless, but critics immediately twisted the narrative into something darker. They claimed the kindness itself felt too perfect, too polished, too strategically emotional. Suddenly, the interview wasn't being viewed as a personal moment anymore. It became a carefully crafted image campaign disguised as authenticity. And that's when the tension truly exploded.
Growing fury that Meghan Markle continues to use her royal title, which is in direct contravention to the Sandringham Summit Agreement. And remember, that was a deal that Prince Harry signed off with the late Queen Elizabeth II. So he is now betraying the memory of his late grandmother, not just the current royal family. But what is abundantly clear is that Meghan now views her husband as just a bit part player in this business, because it's all about her. This visit was all about her. Of course, the moment she's back, the moment she's starting to push the products again, we get the big announcement from People magazine. Where else? In official press materials and product descriptions, Archie and Lilibet are referred to by their full royal title.
People started noticing a pattern. Every detail, every camera angle, every soft emotional moment. Critics claimed it all looked designed to rebuild Meghan's public image while quietly testing how far royal branding could still be pushed without consequences. The timing only fueled the suspicion even more. Queen Elizabeth was gone. King Charles III was consumed with royal pressures. Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, were focused on family and future responsibilities. Some observers became convinced this was the perfect moment for bold moves because nobody inside the palace seemed fully prepared to respond. And then the conversation became even uglier because suddenly critics weren't just questioning Meghan's public strategy anymore, they were questioning the children. Voice clips, Photographs, hair colors, family resemblance, everything became part of the controversy. Samantha Markle publicly fueled the fire by questioning inconsistencies in photos and voice recordings connected to the Sussex children, and once those comments entered public discussion, the internet went completely feral.
Is she purposefully now trying to take on the royal family?
Yes, I think this is one of her things where she says, look, I can do anything much better than you. And the Queen is now no longer here. She realises it's such a good time because King Charles won't get involved with that because he's not well and he's got plenty to do. And William and Catherine, they've got their own issues and problems and very busy, and their children. So she's just done it and is probably roaring with laughter how clever it is.
It's not just making a mockery of the royal family. They're making a mockery of the United States Constitution.
Correct.
That prohibits the use of royal titles, especially in American politics. And Harry and Meghan, can't be ignorant to this fact. They've used the titles against congressional advisement on continuum, preceding public, even political speeches. So they simply can't do it. It creates a false sense of elevated status and reliance that the public have.
People replayed clips over and over, especially one involving a child's voice saying the word beautiful. And bizarrely, that single word became a lightning rod. Critics noticed Meghan often uses that exact expression in interviews and lifestyle content. Suddenly, conspiracy theories started spreading everywhere. Some questioned whether the speech pattern sounded natural for a child that age. Others accused critics of going way too far. But the damage was already done. The scrutiny became relentless. Every sound, every image, every frame was dissected like evidence in a courtroom. What made things worse was the contradiction people couldn't ignore. Harry spent years warning about the dangers of social media exposure and media intrusion involving children. He repeatedly linked public exposure to the trauma surrounding his mother, Diana, Princess of Wales. Yet now, critics claim the children were increasingly appearing in public-facing content connected to branding, lifestyle promotion, and image building. That contradiction became one of the loudest criticisms surrounding the couple.
By the way, let me just be honest with you. It's because Meghan knows Confessions of a Female Founder is a massive flop, so she's trying to fill the space with everything else possible so that people are not talking about the fact that her podcast has fallen out of the top 100. It's mortifying. But so what we got was Lily's voice. And there's been a lot of people, including Angela, raising questions about this very odd-sounding voice. Now, when I was watching the Jamie Kern-Lima interview, was struck by Meghan's use of a word. Watch this.
I love when things look beautiful. And even when you don't have a lot, you're able to make things look
beautiful. She's always talking about beautiful in a particular way. And guess who else on Sunday was saying beautiful?
But
what do we think, Lily?
I think it's beautiful.
Some commentators went even further, accusing Meghan of deliberately using softer family content to distract from struggling business headlines and criticism surrounding podcasts, products, and branding ventures. According to critics, whenever Backlash started growing, suddenly a family moment appeared online and shifted the entire conversation emotionally. Supporters called that interpretation cruel. Critics called it calculated. Either way, the public attention kept growing. Then came the royal title debate again, and this part terrified palace loyalists the most, because critics argued the entire Sandringham agreement now looked weak. Some openly demanded that royal titles should finally be removed altogether. Others claim the monarchy itself looked powerless by allowing the situation to continue. What once felt like celebrity gossip suddenly turned into a much larger conversation about authority, identity, and whether the royal institution had lost control of the narrative completely. Meanwhile, another strange layer emerged involving celebrity circles and public rivalries. Gwyneth Paltrow became dragged into the storm after online users interpreted one of her posts as subtle mockery toward Meghan's lifestyle image. What followed looked bizarrely theatrical to critics. Instead of open conflict, the situation suddenly transformed into relaxed public interactions, food, laughter, and carefully framed friendliness. Supporters saw mature behavior. Critics saw another perfectly timed public relations maneuver. And just when the chaos seemed impossible to escalate escalate further, people started questioning what Meghan doesn't say. During discussions about being done proving herself, critics noticed certain family roles were strangely absent from her wording. Samantha Markle and other commentators immediately jumped on it, claiming omissions like that are never accidental in highly controlled public interviews. Suddenly, silence itself became suspicious. Again, now the entire situation feels trapped in this strange psychological battlefield where nothing is viewed at face value anymore. A candle launch becomes a royal controversy. A child's voice clip becomes international debate. A celebrity lunch becomes evidence of strategic image management. Every move creates another layer of suspicion. Every interview creates more questions instead of answers. And the deeper people look, the more divided the public becomes. The silence surrounding Prince Harry is becoming almost louder than the accusations themselves, because while critics continue attacking Meghan Markle from every direction, people are now starting to ask a far more dangerous question. Where exactly does Harry stand in all of this? Behind closed doors, is he supporting these decisions? Is he trapped between loyalty to his wife and fear of losing what remains of his royal connections? Or has he completely lost control over the narrative that once revolved around protecting privacy and escaping media chaos? Because according to critics, the current reality looks nothing like the promises made when the couple first left royal life behind. The deeper this controversy goes, the more people begin connecting dots that may not even exist, but that's exactly what makes the situation so explosive. Every interview clip, every social media post, every carefully framed family moment now gets treated like a hidden message. Critics claim Meghan understands modern media better than almost anyone watching her. They argue she knows emotional storytelling creates loyalty, and loyalty creates influence. So when soft family content suddenly appears during periods of backlash, many observers instantly suspect strategy instead of coincidence. And once the public starts thinking that way, every future moment becomes impossible to separate from suspicion. What really intensified the backlash was the growing perception that the Sussex children were gradually becoming part of the branding itself. Candles allegedly inspired by Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, emotional family-centered marketing, soft-focused lifestyle moments, critics exploded, accusing Meghan of monetizing royal identity while simultaneously criticizing the institution that gave those titles meaning in the first place. Some commentators even argued the situation had crossed into hypocrisy, pointing out how strongly Harry once condemned media exposure involving children. Now those same critics claim the boundaries appear to be shifting depending on what benefits public image at the time. At the same time, the palace remained painfully quiet. No strong public correction, no dramatic confrontation, no official escalation. And according to royal commentators, that silence may actually be making the entire situation worse. Some critics now openly claim the monarchy looks weak for failing to enforce stronger boundaries around titles and branding. Others believe the royal family is terrified that direct action would only turn Harry and Meghan into even bigger global victims. So instead, the institution appears frozen, watching the chaos grow while hoping it eventually burns itself out. But critics argue the opposite is happening. Every week the story expands further. Meanwhile, the internet keeps turning tiny details into giant controversies. A hairstyle, a voice clip, a jam jar, a word choice, a missing phrase in an interview. Suddenly, thousands of people are debating whether something feels natural or performed. Critics repeatedly claim Meghan's public image feels too polished, too emotionally calibrated, too carefully staged. But supporters fire back just as aggressively, accusing critics of turning ordinary behavior into conspiracy theories simply because they dislike her. And honestly, that divide is exactly why this story refuses to die. Because both sides now see completely different realities every time Meghan appears on screen. Even celebrity friendships became ammunition in the war. The Gwyneth Paltrow situation exploded because people interpreted subtle online behavior as hidden shade, hidden mockery, hidden tension. Then suddenly, public interactions looked warm and playful again, which only made critics more suspicious. They argued the transition happened too smoothly, too publicly, too perfectly timed. Supporters called it maturity. Critics called it narrative control. And once again, the audience split directly down the middle. The most uncomfortable part of this entire saga may actually be the way public perception has started consuming the children themselves as symbols inside a much bigger battle. Some people now examine photos searching for proof of genetics or resemblance. Others question voice clips and editing choices. Critics obsess over inconsistencies in appearances, while supporters condemn the entire conversation as invasive and cruel. But regardless of where people stand, the reality is disturbing. The children have become central to the narrative whether anyone intended it or not. And once public curiosity reaches that level, it becomes incredibly difficult to regain control over it. At the center of everything sits Meghan herself, a woman critics describe as obsessively image-conscious and supporters describe as relentlessly targeted. That contradiction defines the entire controversy. Some see an ambitious public figure building a lifestyle empire while refusing to surrender royal identity because it remains her most powerful connection to influence. Others see a woman trapped inside non-stop global hostility where every sentence, every smile, and every parenting decision gets weaponized against her. The truth probably exists somewhere buried between those extremes. But online culture doesn't care much about balance anymore. It rewards outrage, suspicion, drama, and this story delivers all three constantly. Then there's the growing fear among royal loyalists that the monarchy itself is slowly losing narrative control forever. Because this isn't just about interviews anymore. It's about branding wars, celebrity influence, online culture, streaming platforms, lifestyle marketing, political optics, and royal symbolism all colliding together at the same time. The old palace strategy of never complain, never explain suddenly feels ancient against modern social media cycles where one viral clip can dominate global headlines within hours. Critics argue the palace underestimated Meghan from the beginning. Supporters argue the palace created this monster by refusing to protect her when attacks first escalated years ago. Either way, the fallout now feels impossible to contain. And perhaps that's why this entire situation feels so addictive to the public. It's no longer just gossip. It's become a giant unresolved mystery where every side believes they're seeing hidden truths the other side refuses to acknowledge. One group sees manipulation, another sees persecution. One group sees strategic branding, another sees survival inside an unforgiving media machine. Every interview creates new theories. Every public appearance creates new analysis. Every silence creates new suspicion. Now, the pressure surrounding Harry and Meghan feels heavier than ever because the questions are no longer staying inside royal gossip circles. They're entering mainstream discussions about privacy, parenting, branding, authenticity, influence, and celebrity power itself. And the terrifying thing for everyone involved is that there may never be a clean ending to this story. No single interview will settle it. No palace statement will erase it. No viral moment will completely destroy or completely redeem either side. The controversy has become too emotionally charged, too politically loaded, and too deeply connected to public perception.